Hello, this is Coach Tim Campbell, and I'm your host for the Self-Made is a Myth, Make a Difference Together show, where we're talking with successful business owners to hear their stories of the journey to building their business. And because we know that success in business isn't something that we can do on our own, we recognize the folks who have helped us to excel. Today, I'm excited to have a fellow business owner with us today from Michigan. My guest played professional hockey and has multiple patents. He loves paddleboarding and is most proud of the family and life that he's built. It's my pleasure to welcome Eric to the show today. Hello, Eric.
Hi, Tim. How are you?
I am awesome. Thank you for asking. Well, let's jump in. I'm going to have you start by introducing yourself and tell us a little bit of your personal story, like where you were born, where you live, and about your family.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. My name is Eric. I have been I come from Naperville, Illinois, moved all over. My kids laugh at me because when they ask where they're from, I've got five kids and I think they were born in three different states. So I've lived everywhere from southern Texas to Oregon to different places in Indiana, Illinois, and Michigan, and a small stop in Memphis. A lot of those stops were due to hockey. I played college hockey and into the minors, and then from there that kind of ramped up my corporate career. And as I got into sporting goods, made the transition from hockey to a hockey company. And got into product manager role, and then from there, there to now, just a couple key learning experiences and corporate jobs along the way that got me to starting my own business, and then having ownership and managing partner in two businesses. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Awesome. And introduce us to your wife.
Yeah, so my family, I've got a wife. We're going on 15 years married. Her name is Jenny. I've got five kids ranging from 12 to a year and a half. Mix of boys and girls, so I get the great mix. And fortunately, three are at the age where they can start playing hockey, and so I'm running back and forth to the rink now.
Wonderful. So tell us a funny story that your family likes to share about you that you'd be willing to share today.
Yeah, so you know, conceptually, I started my outdoor games business probably 7 years ago. I didn't actually start it until 2 years ago. But the funny thing about all of that is, my wife's family, and our family, we weren't naturally big outdoor games people. So at our big family parties and stuff like that, it wasn't natural for the group of us all to play. So I never put them out. And so they joke with me that I own two outdoor games companies. And so finally, when the weather got nice this year, that first family party, there was a plethora of games out in the lawn for everyone to enjoy.
Fantastic. So you get some free market research.
Well, you know what? I actually use my kids all the time to market test, because kids can break anything and they can do it fast. So when it comes to a quality and durability standpoint, they're the best testers out there.
Right? That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Eric, tell us, how did the business come about, and at what point did you have the confidence that you could run your own business?
Yeah, so great questions. I was early on. I think I was in my second stop in my corporate career, and I was managing some indoor and outdoor games categories. And the company that I was working for wanted to enter that tailgating space with cornhole and everything. And they didn't want to play in that category at a price point level. They wanted to carve out their own little niche. And so basically, I had to go out there and create well, we looked at licensing and we looked at ultimately creating our own one out, just with cost structure and everything. And so then I went forward with our creative team and an outside designer and built a product assortment and brand from scratch. And really enjoyed that process. I enjoy the outdoor lifestyle that came with the brands, and so it always sat in the back of my mind. And one day, I had moved on from that company and noticed that it was basically just a retail brand at that point, and the lifestyle aspect of it kind of fell off. The social media fell off. The website kind of fell off, but the product was still out there. And I took my learnings and was like, you know what? I think there's still an opportunity in this category for this to be done the way that I had envisioned, and not just a retail brand, but an actual lifestyle brand. And so that's when I decided I was going to give it a go. Now, the part of the question with when was I ready? I wasn't ready yet at the point where in my mind I knew someday I would do it. And I still had to acquire knowledge in order for me to go out on my own and take the risk. At a certain point, I was ready mentally to do it, and I was doing it on the side. I had a day job. COVID hit, and man, that sent me straight into this was my full-time job. And that, I haven't looked back.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. So tell us a little bit more about both your companies.
So the first company that I started is Elakai Outdoor, and that's an all-inclusive outdoor games company. We this Christmas we're going to be launching another 9 products. We just launched 2 more this last month, and it's focused on outdoor living. How do we provide quality products that people can use at any event, feel proud of, and the biggest thing for me was there's a lot of games out there, and most times at gatherings or whatever they're kind of off to the side. This allows our goal in this is for these games to become conversation starters. So like our staple products have like their hand poured resin, epoxy resin mixed in, and live edge wood, and our whole goal is for them to be to be social, and to allow people to come together and make memories. The other company is the American Cornhole Association, and roundabout story, when I started Elakai, the manufacturing partner put me in touch with the American Cornhole Association, and it was a natural fit that we'd be a part of things, because cornhole is a part of Elakai, and obviously that's everything in the association. So those are the two different businesses, and it's really fun to see them play together in some regard, and then we have to keep them separate in other regard. But it's really fun to see how we can you take one hat off and put on the other.
So that's got to at times be a little challenging to be able to manage both companies. How do you handle that?
Well, it's nothing new, and this is why I think when I was ready to do it, I was ready to do it, because at all of I would say all but maybe 1 or 2 of the companies I've worked for, I've managed multiple brands, and in some cases up to 13 brands that I had to manage all at once, and keep straight and position differently. And so this is my career. I've been doing this.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's relatively easy. The harder part in that is training the people that haven't done that,
Sure.
because the language you use with consumers is different. How you speak to them is different. The areas of focus vary, right, between brand and so that's been more of the fun stuff is seeing other people go through it for the first time too.
Awesome. So, Eric, share a story where someone pushed you or inspired you that you could do it, even though maybe you didn't think you could, and the impact they had on you.
Yeah, well, so the first person that comes to mind was a manager that I had, Dave Corwin. He gave me insight that I still carry with me today, and I try and teach to anyone that's on my team, and that is, you gather if a decision has to be made, make it.
Mm.
Don't wait on it. Take the information, gather the information that's at hand and make a decision, because oftentimes if you don't make a decision, that has more of a negative impact on your business than even if you make the wrong decision, right? Which inevitably you will, right? I mean, it's
Right?
impossible to make the right decision all the time. But if you don't make it, you sometimes can hurt your business way more than help it.
Yeah.
So that's the first piece, is he gave me the confidence in making decisions, and he allowed me very young in my career to make some big decisions,
Yeah.
for on behalf of the business and the department that I was in. And that, I mean, it's invaluable.
Mhm.
I couldn't thank him more for that.
Yeah.
I think the other aspects of in my current businesses, my partners who have owned their own businesses for 20 plus years, knowing that I haven't owned my own business before,
Sure.
but that my experience within the corporate, they allow me to run and manage this,
Mm.
without a ton of questions, without any sort of distrust. And Tim, you and I have talked about it before. I think the key there is just having aligned values, knowing that you have the right goals in mind, and that you're going to operate under the same kind of premise,
Yeah.
right, with the people and everything. And so that my current partner is just allowing me to do what I know,
Mm.
uh, and to trust that that I got it, I think is invaluable.
Yeah. Yeah. I like what you said earlier about, being willing to make decisions, even if they turn out to be wrong decisions. Like too many business owners will kind of sit on the fence, right, and overanalyze or analysis paralysis, right, and not end up making a decision and miss out on a big opportunity. And so I like what you're saying about, it's kind of like fail forward, like make a decision. If it's wrong, it's okay. You're going to learn from it, course correct, and keep going, right?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, what's worst case scenario? I mean, depending on the situation, you could be out some money, but hopefully you're not risking all of it
Sure.
in the decision. But worst case scenario, at the end of the day, is you've learned something.
Yeah.
Period. And you won't make the same mistake twice. And you can implement the learnings back into the business.
Yeah.
But in this day and age, with privacy changes and digital changes and algorithms and in different channels, if you're not trying new things and making decisions on a daily basis to push your business forward, you're going to get left behind.
Yeah. Yeah. Our founder says something along the lines of you're either growing or you're dying. Right. So
Right.
if you're not taking chances and you're not right reinventing the wheel, if you're not, moving the business forward, there's no real such thing as status quo. Right. There
Right.
used to be a long time ago, but now it doesn't exist. Right. If you're status quo, you're actually dying because your competitors are moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. I read an article just yesterday along the similar lines where they were talking to franchise owners, and it was like, if you only buy into one territory or one franchise, one office, you've just bought yourself a job. If you buy in with multiple, now you've got an income stream that allows you to reinvest plus live off of. And so, it's just one of those things where sometimes you do have to invest in yourself and make those decisions to move forward,
So Eric, what's your biggest learning as a business owner?
Well, I think, you learning the gear shifters, right, within business. Obviously working in the corporate field, a lot of the corporations I've worked with, you have a lot more leeway in terms of cash flow, right? Because they're established business. When you're doing it on your own, if you don't know your financials, it could be detrimental. And so, it's that balancing of going fast to grow a business, while still under control, right? And being able to shift gears as you see fit, both up and down. So that way you're driving your cash flow the right way.
Marcus from the show The Profit, he says, if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. Right?
Correct. Yeah.
And to your point, right, if you don't know the impact of a decision that you're about to make, and what's that's going to do for your cash flow, it could be hugely detrimental to the business. So
yeah, well, and I definitely think for those business owners out there that don't look at financials and everything, there are so many different levers to pull. I think that can make you profitable or more profitable in a given month if you're looking at your numbers regularly.
Yes.
I think, I look at my numbers every day. Most of the businesses, when I was at the executive level and in the corporate landscape, we looked at our numbers both on a daily and weekly basis, and then monthly, quarterly. I mean, you slice and dice it every which way, but and that's where I learned the importance of looking at that, because there are things you can do to positively impact things without hurting the business. So knowing your financials is critical.
I like what you said about it. When you break it down and you look at them, it gives you opportunity to a whole bunch of different areas that you can impact profit. So just to illustrate that a little bit more for the folks listening is, right, we break profit down into at least 350 strategies, right, in terms of here are things that have worked across the board with all of our different clients, and just pick 2 or 3, right, in each of the 5 different categories and implement those over the next 2 or 3 months. And right, and every little change you make, right, every 10% adjustment that you make to different areas of the business has a multiplier effect, right? So it all starts, to your point, Eric, right? You've got to know your numbers in order to know where to make those adjustments and to track and see if those adjustments are having an impact to the overall business.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've been a part of some companies that didn't know their financials. When they finally dug into them, some of the owners weren't on the same page. And just because you get sometimes you take home money at the end of the year on taxes does not mean you're profitable. And I mean that's an example of like, know your numbers, because just because you take a cash distribution or something, right, to lower your taxes does not mean you're profitable. I had one owner tell me, "What do you mean I'm not profitable?" when I was helping them with build a budget and financial model, and it was a surprise, and they uncovered that they were hundreds of $1,000s in debt, and they weren't talking.
Wow.
So it's so important to have good communication and to know your numbers. I mean, it's the most critical thing, I think.
Couldn't agree with you more. So, Eric, we know that business success doesn't happen in isolation. So, tell us about one of your biggest challenges during your years as a business owner, and maybe a fellow business owner or a colleague that came alongside you and helped you get through that.
Yeah. So I would say, you know, it wasn't always my plan to partner with people.
Mm.
And to do it, my original plan was to build Elakai from the ground up, manage it on the side and of day-to-day work. And I happened to be kayaking and fishing alongside a river in Oregon with my family when we lived in the Portland area, and met a fellow business owner, or at that time not a fellow business owner. I was in the corporate world, and he owns a successful business and dental practice, and one of the things that he told me was the really successful folks that he's encountered have partnered with somebody because their skill set offsets something that they're deficient in. And then that allows them time to free up to continue to develop businesses or reinvest time in other places, because now they're 2 or 3 or 4 people, pulling up the bottom, right?
Yeah.
And so I would say that that impacted me to say, you know what, 40% of something or 30% of something or 70% of something, when it's bigger and you have more balance and time to do other things that you love, is more valuable than 100% of something, especially depending on the strengths of your partners and what they're bringing to the table. I mean, it could be massively impactful.
Yeah.
And so, I would say that's where, when I sought out after partners, I knew I was always going to have partners. I have a large family and I want to spend time with them.
Mm.
And so, I looked for partners that had strengths in other areas. I didn't need somebody with the exact background that I had. I need somebody in manufacturing and the other side of the business that I don't have as a core strength, right? And so it was super impactful from that standpoint. So it's why I'm where I'm at, with on my own as a business owner, and with a brand that's picking up steam and getting noticed and everything like that.
You mentioned it earlier. I think it's important to reinforce it here, is that partners just for the sake of partners is not necessarily going to be successful. So as folks listening to this are exploring partnerships, you want to make sure that you've got similar values and beliefs, right, to the folks that you're partnering with, because there's going to be some tough decisions that need to be made in business, right, and some gray decisions that are going to be made, and you need to know at the end of the day that you're fundamentally aligned, right, to the folks that you're partnering with. Because when we bring in an opposite, as Eric mentioned, right, we're going to rub each other, and they're going to have a different perspective and a different opinion. That's why it's a benefit, but it also can be a friction, right, during challenging times. And so you want to make sure that you've got people who got your back, right, who have the same values and the beliefs that you do, so that you can trust and respect each other's opinion. So Eric, I know we've talked before, it sounds like you've been able to find that for yourself. Is that a fair
Yeah, I think I think there were things as a business owner that I'm still learning, that I'm thankful that my partners put in place early on, right? Within the legal agreements and everything like that, like knowing who has the final say in what is so important, because like you said, you're not always going to agree, especially if somebody has a perspective that's different than yours.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's an impasse. So you need to know from a structural standpoint who's got that final say, and you got to respect it.
Yeah.
right? Because you signed an agreement that says, hey, when it comes to, a decision, so and so has the final say, but input's needed, and
Yep.
all
Yep.
that stuff,
Yep.
right? But things that I would not have thought of. Now, I almost got into a partnership that probably would have not been. I would not be where I'm at, and I think it came back to values,
Mm.
and it came back to communication, and luckily, that wasn't the path that I was meant to go down, and I was able to see it soon enough.
Mm.
And Tim, you and I have talked about it before. That courting process is so important to learn about one another, because it's almost like an interview,
Right.
right? And so everyone's on their best behavior, everyone's saying the right things. But it's really important to get to know a potential partner, and how they conduct business, if you can, prior to that.
Yeah.
Unless they're just, helping with funding and they're a silent partner and that's how you have it structured, right? So there's a ton of different ways to do it, but you do want to make sure that you go through some sort of vetting process, and then you build a pretty comprehensive structure and agreement around the interaction on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. Our subconscious will attract our opposite. Right? You hear that a lot in marriages, right? That people marry their opposite. It's true with business partnerships as well, because our subconscious knows what we're lacking, where we're lacking, or where different perspectives that we need. But to your point, right? If we're not aware of that, and right, and we just get married overnight, right? And we don't also think through, right? Are we compatible, right? Do we have the same life goals, or vision for
Right.
the organization? Do we have a similar morality level? And are we going to do? Are we going to align on what's the right thing to do? Then, right? It can be just like a marriage where people who rush into that, right, end up having significant challenges, and it's not as joyful as it could be for versus those who have taken their
Right.
time to make sure it was the right fit. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, comparing it to marriage and growing with people, and communication's key in that, values is key in that, to make it work long term. And the last thing you want to do is get into a partnership and be miserable, and know that your savings, or your assets, or however you structure your deal, right? Which, a million ways to structure it, all that's on the line.
Yeah.
And so you can't just walk away, unless you can come to some sort of deal to walk away. But um, you know, you got to figure it out. And people in business, that's one of the challenges of business, is people, and managing people, and
Yeah.
managing relationships, and managing different communication styles, and everything like that. It's imperative that you have those skills that can manage
Yeah.
different situations and different people.
Yeah. You mentioned signing the contract up front, and maybe it, right, not really making as much sense then as it did now. And for everyone listening, right, if we're level headed, right, it's much easier to sign an agreement of what happens when we break up versus when we don't like the other person and we're in the midst of potentially breaking up. You're not going to be able to sign a reasonable contract at that point. So much
Yeah.
better to do it when you don't think you need it, right?
Yes, exactly. Well, and I mean, things do evolve with a business, right? Where responsibilities shift and everything there, and having a legal agreement in place is not a distrust thing; it's a clarity thing.
Yeah.
And clarity uh, makes for more oftentimes, it adds to a recipe for a good day
Yeah.
when things are clear, right? Better communication, better responsibility, line of sight to goals. Clarity is so much.
Yes.
And that's all you're doing is you're creating clarity. It's not a distrust thing. It's not a, you
Mhm.
know, you know, what if thing. It's this is how you operate, and it's clear,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Very fair. So, Eric, if I asked you to pick three people in your business journey as an owner that you are most grateful for being there, that have contributed to your business growth, who are those three people and how they help you?
Um, it's so hard. Okay, so the first one I would say is my wife Jenny, right? Being able to encourage, bounce things off of, be on board with taking a risk,
Yeah.
right? The other, I would say, I'm going to group some people together. So my corporate life, which gave me the skills and the knowledge to be able to go out on my own. You know, like I was saying, Dave earlier, you know, taught me how to make decisions.
Right.
Um, you know, learning the financials and having to report them out to board of directors and, you know, on publicly traded companies and presidents of non-public companies and all of that stuff. Along the way, just managing people,
Mm.
right? I had one situation where, you know, it was a large corporation and I could not let somebody go who was being disrespectful to me, not listening to me as I was managing. And I am so thankful for that because it allowed me to learn managing people and
Mm.
entrusting me in order to get through and motivate, which was so key along the way. Um, and then again, you know, I kind of touched on it earlier. I would say that third grouping are my current set of partners, right? That trust, that have the same values that allow me to do what I know how to do. And then, you know, to rely on them for the things that they know how to do.
Yeah.
So you know, those are kind of the sections, right? Your family support, and then I think my corporate life, and then now my business owner life, and how all that intersects. I really couldn't choose um, three because way more people have been and goes to the conversation, right? Like you can't do this on your own. Like at some point, whether it's education, you know, if you start a business in high school, somebody helped you. Maybe it was your dad went and helped you buy your first lawnmower for commercial lawn mowing or whatever, right? Like I mean, somebody has helped you along the way. You know, you're never fully alone in what you're doing.
You mentioned your wife as your number one. I would say that for myself as well. Um, there's a lot of ups and downs in running a business, right? You mentioned there's a lot of risk in it. The first couple years are incredibly challenging to get things working, and it's just amazing to have somebody right on your side who's got your back, right? Can give you that encouragement and motivation and support, and right,
Right.
just keep affirming us that we're doing what we're meant to do and to hang in there.
Well, and I know with my wife, it's also it's not only that support, but it's also the challenge, right? Of of doing the right thing. You
Mm.
know, she's not a business minded person. She's more like psychology and thinking through things. So I get a totally different perspective to where she challenges me to make sure that I'm doing everything I can,
Yeah.
and doing the right things and everything there. So it's kind of the balance of keeping me, you know, supported and moving forward, and she's got my back, but also, you know, checking me where maybe I've lost sight of something, right? Or I could have handled something differently or said it a different way. She's my, my checkpoint on that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, Eric, as you think about the next 3 to 5 years, and what are the biggest challenges that you're going to face to reach your goals, and who are the types of people you're going to need to help you overcome those challenges?
Yeah, well, so in terms of the next 3 to 5 years, I think one of the biggest challenges that we're going to find in my two businesses is, your path and the opportunity, picking the right opportunities in order for the businesses to grow the right way. Um, seeing the opportunities that maybe are great opportunities, but not right now opportunities, right?
Mhm.
Um, I've got a licensing opportunity for Elakai that would be massive. But I don't know that it's the right time, which is super unfortunate and sad because I love this other brand. The checks and balances and the partners that I currently have, just balancing things off of them. I also think other challenges, I don't plan on stopping with two companies. I want to continue to grow our direct to consumer brands and our consumer product brands. And there's opportunity to, I've got tons of ideas and category research that will allow us to get into some other sporting good categories. And it's going to take partners to get on board with those because it's going to utilize resources, it's going to utilize funding. So that those are 3 to 5 years, all of that's realistic, and all decisions that are going to have to be made.
That's awesome. You mentioned lots of ideas. I in your intro, I mentioned that you've got a number of patents. Are they all within this space?
No, so I've got a couple in other sporting good categories.
Okay.
So hockey, pickleball. I've got what else is it in? Rifle scopes. We've got a patent in that. And so yeah, I don't plan on. We've got one of them is in Cornhole. It's a bag, certain bag design that we put under the American Cornhole Association. Just there's a bunch of other. I mean, if you've ever come across people or you yourself invented anything, to decide to patent something is a very carefully decided thing, right? Because sometimes you just want to be first to market, and you'll get more bang for your buck doing that.
Right.
Because it's really hard to patent and protect.
You're right.
Because I know in my corporate life, we would sit there and we look at it. If we really wanted to get into a space and there's a patent there, we would look at, all right, how do we get around this?
Yep.
Right? How are the claims structured? In some cases, it's easy.
Yeah.
And in other cases, it's really hard. They've done a really good job with their patent, and it varies, by product. So like we just launched a product under Elakai that if I was with a big corporation, I would have patented it. But under Elakai and with the amount of dollars, knowing that it's not one of our number one or number two products, it was just worth it to get it out there into the public as the original, right? So yeah, I know it's always cool to say you invented or you have a patent, but in some cases it is a waste of money, unfortunately. But that is the reality of it because other people have money to get around them.
Indeed. So Jim Rohn said we become the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. So Eric, as you think about that, what advice would you have for business owners who are trying to do it on their own?
I mean, kudos to you. It's hard work. I would just say, if you are doing it on your own, surround yourself with a good support staff, somebody that can check and balance you. If you have a group of friends that are also business owners, without giving up equity, you can do coffee once every month, once every 2 weeks, just to bounce ideas off of. You want a business-minded support. It's always good. Like I've joined groups before where it's been like, for coffee, and one guy's, a marketing guy, one guy's a sales guy, or whatever, right? And you just bounce ideas off of one another. But having that support and sounding board is important. And if you don't have it, read lots, There's lots of good articles out there. You don't have to do it 100% alone.
Right.
Whether it's podcasts or like yours, Tim. I mean, whether it's reading articles, or find a mentor. If you can, just one person to have lunch with or coffee, invite somebody out, pick their brain, and say thank you, and try and implement things to push your business forward.
Technology, I love what you say, because technology's made it's almost eliminated any excuse for not having a mentor, because we can read a book, right? And that can be our mentor. If we don't like reading, we can listen to an audio book, right? Or we can watch a YouTube video or listen to a podcast. So that there really is no excuse for not having, those 5 people in our life, right? Even if it's not physical people or people that we know, it can be, successful business owners who are sharing their value with others, and we're able to take advantage of that through a book or a video.
Yeah, right. Partners doesn't mean you're giving up equity.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't mean that at all. In some cases, maybe it's totally worth it too. In other cases, it could just be, again, a sounding board, support, friend, whatever, doing business kind of together and bouncing things off. But it doesn't mean equity. It doesn't mean you give up any part of your business. It just means that you're continuing your education around your business, right? That's all.
And I liked what you said earlier about, staying in your lane in terms of what your expertise is. So there's outsourced opportunities as well, right? Where you're not giving up equity, you're just paying, whether that be an outsourced CFO, right? Or outsourced HR services or payroll or marketing. Like there's lots of options.
Actual marketing. There's certifications out there that you yourself can get, that just allows you to have support. So, partnerships are bigger than just business owners.
Yeah.
I think if you open up to to help, right? You just have to be open to help in any way.
Yeah.
And you got partner.
Yeah. Yeah. Indeed. Awesome. So Eric, it sounds like you've been blessed with some incredible people who have helped you on your journey. If they were all on the show here today, what would you want to say to them?
Just thank you. I've learned a lot from them. Hopefully they've been able to learn some stuff from me. And I've been able to help them and give back to them somehow. They've been, a tremendous support, and these 2 businesses wouldn't be there without them. At any level. When I was in corporate, these 2 businesses wouldn't be here without the people that God's put in my path. And my family. I mean, none of this would be possible without a higher level of path, because I couldn't write it. I'm not that smart that I could have been like, I'm going to move here and meet this guy, or I'm going to move there or I'm going to choose to manufacture here and they're going to become part. Like, you just can't write that. So, thank you for making sure, that you keep me honest and humble and open to possibility.
Awesome. So Eric, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today, and I really appreciate having you on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tim. It was awesome.
To everyone who tuned in, thanks for listening to the Self-Made is a Myth show with your host, Coach Tim Campsell. Be sure to help spread this movement by liking the show or mention it on your social media. And to join our movement, go to bemadtogether.com. All right, folks, that's a wrap. Make sure to pay it forward, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.